Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on November 19th, 2021 at approximately 9:57 a.m. PST. Actually, I got that wrong. It's approximately 9:17 a.m. PST. But it is nonetheless November 19th of 2021. Well, that went out really well. This is a live recording, meaning I simply go back at the end of the recording, double check, make sure I got the date right, and then all the glitches, all the hiccups, whatever, gets posted as is. Okay, on the plus side, if you ever actually do run into me, which is, it is possible, but you'll find I do talk the same way. Okay, now it really is, when you run into snags, everybody has goals, everybody has dreams, everybody's got, projects they'd like to get finished. And if you're anything like me, you get sidetracked on occasion. Okay, so when that happens, the important factor is to go, okay, I stumbled, now it's time to get going. Take a look at the way a child is when they learn to walk. The first thing they do is they stumble, they fall down a lot, and then they get up, and eventually they get it moving so they can walk. There's very few adults that still fall down when they first try and stand up. Number of seniors that have that problem. But the trick is to get back up and get at it again. You have to realize that there are hiccups you're going to run into, and I run into the same things. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer, if they apply to my life, I'm using them. Okay, the same, I offer you the same tools I use. I tell you the philosophies I live by that have worked for me. Now, do I have my struggles? Certainly. If I didn't, quite frankly, a whole lot of things would be different. But I am moving forward with it. And I do have some goals in mind that I'm managing to get accomplished. Hopefully, I'll make some well, no. We're going to scrap the hopefully, because hopefully indicates to me that I'm going to sit back and wait for things to happen. There's an old saying that goes, hope springs eternal, which is a great idea. The problem is that you can wish, wishful thinking is great. Hopeful thinking is great. But if you don't get off your tail feathers and take dominant control of your own life, you're not going anywhere. And the reality is, no matter what happens, you ultimately are the only one that can be successful for you. Which is why I've got that sign over here that says, I am worth it. Those are the four most powerful words in combination in any language that I know of regarding rebuilding your own personal perspective of you, rebuilding your own self-esteem. Okay, those four words are extremely beneficial. Now, I mentioned yesterday that my office looked like it was an absolute war zone, that a tornado had gone through here. Okay, well, my office desk is now actually pretty much clear. I've got things that I can do, and as you can tell, I don't exactly sit still well. But, that being said, it is an issue of making certain that when you're getting an idea, and that's where this fine little list goes. Okay, and again, I keep a list handy. I slipped off for a little while, and I'll tell you, I quit using the list, right, and figured, this is just tedious. Like I said, I'm not perfect. Here's what happened. The front of my house turned into a disaster. My office went sideways. Finances I managed to maintain and control over. So, I stopped using the tool that was working. And there is a saying that goes, get back to basics. Or, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, the list method, put 3 things on a list. Okay, starting wherever you are. Doesn't matter. The first 3 things that come to your mind that you feel are not where they belong, are not running smoothly. Those are the first things you start working on. Keep your goals down to 15-minute to half-hour jobs, because that way you can get them racked off and you'll feel like you're getting things accomplished. Which, in all fairness, you will be. Now, I'm seeing more and more people that are letting this whole thing get to them, and myself included. Okay, in Kelowna right now, we don't have a food shortage. What we've got is shipping problems. And I will tell you, the people that are working in these industries, it used to be in the front, your nurses, your first responders, when we were in the thick of the COVID mess. Okay, and some people are still looking at, well, I'll tell you, in my opinion, the bigger problem is not COVID anymore. Okay, I'm not saying it's not a problem, but your frontline workers now are at this immediate point in Kelowna anyway. The immediate issue is the frontline people are your cashiers, they are your grocery workers. Those are the people that are getting hit really bad around this place. Okay, now the front end, your first responders and what have you, and I will tell you, for me, I've always been a staunch supporter of the military, as in the people that join the military to defend the country, to defend their families. I absolutely stand behind them. I often, and I've made no bones about it, I have major questions around the policies of governmental military. Where they're putting their strength, where they're allocating their attention. And I don't mean the ones that when you've got somebody invading, that is when the military goes. But if you don't have somebody invading your home, okay, your country, then frankly, going out and picking a fight with somebody else to me is overstated. That said, right now, we have the issue of the grocery situation. Your frontline people are the people that are working right there. And you can bet your bottom dollar they're going through the same problem that you are. Okay. This is why I said, working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I happen to be of the philosophy, no matter what's going on, aim at keeping at least a minimum of a month to 2 months of food in your house, of non-perishable food in your house, with a way to get it and to get into it. And what I mean by that is I've run into cases in the past where I've had canned goods in the house, but we had a power failure and I still couldn't get at the food. I solved that problem. Okay. If I had thought about it, I would have brought it forward, but since I didn't, I found a can opener, a manual can opener without gears. Okay, quite frankly, it's a military can opener. Okay, and granted, it doesn't have gears. Okay, it's no power, but that means in a power failure, if all else fails, let's say I'm out of perishable food, I've got food in the house. Now, I'm a firm believer. I like having a minimum of a month to 6 weeks food in the house, and that I've got. I don't know exactly how much I've got, but this isn't called panic. I only shop every for major food, like for your canned goods. I only go out shopping every 2 or 3 months, right? And that's just the way that works for me. But what's happening right now is people are starting to get panicky, and they're reacting in very poorly thought out ways. And we come back to this issue of do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Okay, there's also the issue of everything in moderation. Okay, now I think it was last year, which would have been 2020, could quite adequately be classified as a year without toilet paper. I mean, there was such a massive rush on it. And why? Okay, but like I said, instead of the Christmas special, the year without Santa Claus, we had 2020, the year without toilet paper. Okay, you have to find. We're going through a lot of stress around the world now. Somebody laid out the other day. I saw the post on Facebook. Somebody listed off the last 20 years, and every year there's a new massive crisis that everybody's dealing with. But here's the thing people forget. Every one of those massive crises we got through. Okay, and people pulled together and they worked their way through it. And in time, the crises went away. The same will happen this time. It's like the stock market. Okay, it rises and it falls. Okay, that's just the way that is. Okay, life goes on. But if we maximize the positive in between people and we minimize the negative, people will find that things are a whole lot easier. Okay, now the reality behind it, from my standpoint, is this: talk to the people around you. And I don't just mean talk to the people on the other end of the internet. Absolutely do talk to them. Okay, Lord knows, there are certain people, my other half included, that the only way of talking to her is on the internet. However, I make a point of talking to the people in my own apartment block. I don't leave my building very much. Okay, that's just me though. But even with that, I still make sure I talk to the people around me. Okay, the more you know your neighbors, okay, at least know who they are by look. Okay, the more you know them, the more calm your neighborhood will be. Okay, and this is just the sad reality. Now, you're always going to have, in all likelihood, problem children. Okay, but this is a natural evolutionary thing. Okay, as people grow older, they have different needs, they have different desires. These have to be dealt with. But it requires communication, and it requires being true to you first. Meaning, like, the fact of the matter is, I definitely have a problem with war. Am I going to go out and pick a fight with somebody nearby? Not at all. Because if I put out the energy to cause a conflict, I'm contributing to that conflict energy. AKA, I do not agree with war. I do not see the point to it. I mean, I can understand the greed-based point to it. But the reality is, it doesn't have a lot of use. Okay, they used to say it was good for the economy, which, 50 years ago, absolutely. If you wanted to produce more bullets, you hired more people. Now, if you desire to produce more bullets, you turn a knob. Okay, and we have to understand, we talk about freedom of choice. Okay, and everybody's given freedom of choice, which is true, you are. But when that choice becomes do this or you get shut out of everything else, okay, that's no longer a freedom of choice. That is a very definitive issue of coercion, not a positive thing. Freedom of choice is, okay, I have apple pie for dinner or for dessert. I like the idea of apple pie for dinner personally. But freedom of choice goes like this. You're a parent and you tell the kids, here's your choice. You can have apple pie, or you can have nothing, because I don't have anything else. Okay. If you've got two types of pie like my aunt used to have, you can have apple pie, pumpkin pie, blueberry pie. Sounds like John on Garfield. But it was really that way. Right? Here's a whole selection of things that you can have. But we don't have the other ones, so you can't have those. Okay. When we're looking at freedom of choice, okay, you take a look at the issue. You've got freedom of choice. We were all given it. If you believe in God in any fashion, really, you were gifted with freedom of choice, irrevocable even by Him. Okay, so you've got the freedom to choose what you will. But here's the thing: if you have freedom of choice, so does the next person. What you don't have freedom from is the consequences of your choice. Taking it to extremes, you have the freedom of choosing whether to rob a bank. Okay, you can choose to rob a bank or you can choose not to. But if you choose to rob a bank, then you have also chosen to deal with whatever consequences they come up with for you breaking that law. Okay. Now, where it comes to freedom of, when we're talking about dress codes, if the restaurant says you have to wear a suit and tie, okay, in order to enter the restaurant, you can choose to go to not wear the suit. But at that point, you're also choosing to abide by their rule that says they've chosen if you don't wear a suit jacket, you're not coming in. So if you choose not to wear it, they can exercise their right and say, you chose not to wear the suit. Well, that is something that we don't let you into the building for. Your choice not to wear it, our choice not to let you in because you didn't wear it. Okay. But that being said, people never consider they never even seem to think about the idea of, well, I want to go into that restaurant, and therefore I shouldn't have to wear a suit jacket. And now I'm going to tear the jacket off of somebody else because I don't think they should have to wear a jacket going in there either. People just don't think about it. Okay. People, there are certain lines that are simply accepted. And what you have to look at, from my standpoint, I chose to let everything go to heck in a handbasket in my office again. Now, the side effect of that is I have to deal with cleaning it up. And I'll tell you, it's a pain in the neck. You let things go, and you let things go for a day or two, and all of a sudden everything's gone sideways. Okay. So from my standpoint, yes, I made the choice to let it go. And now I'm making the choice I'm going to get it all sorted out, which is why my office desk got cleared off this morning. And as soon as I get done here, then I will take care of a couple of other things of writing projects I've got to deal with. But this is where freedom of choice comes in. Now, the ironic part of it is I was told by my father. He used to teach Sunday school. And he really pushed the idea of reading the Bible myself. Well, the reality is I never got to it. I just never did. But I did make a commitment to my father on his deathbed that I would get it read. Well, I'm making headway through it, but it's undoubtedly going to be a couple of years before I get it finished. Okay, it'll be about another week and a half before I tie up the other book. But that's me. I'm not much of a reader. I spend a lot more time writing. And unfortunately, I spend a lot of time wasting time. Okay, now from your standpoint, if you've got a project that you've let slide, you let your housework go, whatever, it's time to really get up and start pushing to get it straightened out. Because if we organize our own home, the side effect is, and the energy to it is this: you organize your house, that residual energy will echo into the neighborhood. Okay, you don't have to believe me on this. You can do your own research. But I will tell you, it does actually work. I can tell you that gravity works. You don't have to believe me, but I'm going to tell you. You step off a building or you jump out of a plane, if you don't have a way to counteract it, gravity is going to play havoc. Okay. So the reality is you don't have to believe in certain aspects. It's okay. They believe in you. Gravity affects everybody. The nice thing about the weather, the flooding that we've been going through recently, that a lot of people have been going through, is you'll notice the floodwaters did not check on whose mortgage was paid. They didn't check on who was renting. The floods coming in did not bother checking on who you were sleeping with. Nature itself is very neutral. It's doing what it has to because mankind has quite literally created a problem by being so aggressive to each other. Okay, now this has already been scientifically backed up. Never mind my belief structure. Okay, and you can even test this one yourself. Pick a plant in your house. Okay, take 3 of them. 3 all the same plant if you've got them. But see the difference between what happens to the plants if you water them and feed them the same. What happens to them if you talk to them nicely, if you are gentle around them, as compared to if you're really angry and screaming at them all the time. It's already been scientifically proven that negative energy negatively impacts on plants. Well, Earth itself is a plant. Okay. And for those of you that are empathic, negative energy around you is, I know for an absolute certainty for me, that when there's anger going on around me, I find it painful. Which is one of the reasons why I pull back from people. Okay. And it just dawned on me the other day. No, it just dawned on me this morning that the reason that I became reclusive was because of what I was feeling was happening. Okay. And I'm still seeing it. Is it correctable? Can we turn this world around? The answer is absolutely, unequivocally, in my eyes, yes. But it's going to take the effort of all of you. Okay, so here's the challenge for you. Let's start a pandemic. Now, I've mentioned this before, but I am talking about a pandemic of incredible proportions that is a good thing. The next person, as a matter of fact, every person you see today, just simply smile at them and nod. Okay, that's it. The pandemic I'm talking about starting is a pandemic of smiles. Okay, somebody accused me one day, actually a number of people have accused me, of trying to start a cult by telling people to get along. Well, if that's the case, how about if we start that cult too? I don't know what we'll call it. Let's call it cult of being nice. Okay. It's just one of those weird things that really pays off. Now, something to keep in mind, people. Okay. Right now, where are we? November 17th? Remembrance Day was a week and a bit ago. Now, I don't know about you, but for me personally, I still remember the wars. I still remember the people coming home, having lost people, having, carried people home, off the battlefield. Now, I wasn't on the battlefield. I lived on a military base at the time that the Vietnam War was going on. But I haven't forgotten. The fact it's no longer November 11th has not stopped me from remembering that. Okay, this issue of we don't celebrate these things. Well, the reality, I understand that we can't have parades all the time, and in all fairness, in all deference to the people lost and the people left behind, parades don't bring the dead back. Okay, it just doesn't. Thank heavens for that, or we'd have one heck of a problem. William Shakespeare once put it, the way he put it was, if the dead were to all stand up and walk, we'd have one heck of a population problem. Okay. And much as I agree, if you take a look at the way that many people are today, and I've got one right here, especially with these funny little things. Okay. Many people today, I swear, are brain dead. Okay. They're so locked in on the cell phones. And, people are worried about being chipped and what have you. I got news for you. If you're worried about being chipped, see how much information there is on these. Okay. They have built-in trackers in them. If the government or anybody else for that matter wants to know where you are, if you've got a cell phone, they know. Okay. If you don't have a cell phone, not to worry. They've got satellites capable of spotting you, if they really want to. So this idea of, are you being chipped? Are you being controlled in that fashion? Frankly, in a manner of speaking, you already are, and you already have been. Okay, or you already have been, and you already are. In any event, by being nice to each other, the only time laws become an issue is if a law is infringing on your human rights. Okay, or on your rights, on your free will. And that does not mean you should have the right to go out and run and do whatever you please. Society requires laws, but the fact is the laws have to apply to everybody, not just the ones that have enough money to buy their way out of it, or the ones that don't have enough money to buy it, that they have to deal with it. Okay, A law is only good if it applies to everybody. Because the reality is, if it does not apply to everybody, a sub-society will exist. Now, point in fact, when we take a look at this whole vaccine thing, you have the vaxxers and the anti-vaxxers. And then there's a third group of people that that few people think about. The ones that have chosen one side or the other, either to get vaccinated or not to get vaccinated, but they've chosen to go, that's my decision. And what you want to do with it yourself, that's your decision. Okay. But that midline group of people, and this is the midline that I do encourage you to take, whether you've gotten vaccinated, whether you've not gotten not unvaccinated, whether you haven't, whether you wear a mask voluntarily or whether you choose not to. Okay. I'd like to see everybody join that third group, going, that's my personal decision. That's what I chose. I'm dealing with the consequences. And if you want to go the other route, go ahead, the other route. That was really poor English, but hey. Actually, in all fairness, the English was good. Pronunciation was a problem. But I would like to see everybody do the same thing with the vaccinations as I do with religion as well. Call God what you will. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Be nice to each other. It's that simple. Okay. The sad part is we are taught from the very get-go of life, do things in the way you're told to do them. If you don't, it's called disruptive or whatever else. Okay. But the reality is that it is the people that think outside the box, that do things a little differently, that are directly responsible for societal changes that have benefited millions. Okay. Now, do not get me wrong. This does not mean that if you choose one way or the other where health is concerned, that all of a sudden you're speaking up for the world and you're going to do something great. It's fantastic if you are. Okay. It really is fantastic if you're doing something great. But saying, there's a way of looking at the world that goes this. Okay. It basically boils down to, you cannot make yourself better by making somebody else feel worse. You cannot be more successful by making somebody else's business fail. Okay, granted, you may take out the competition of that one individual. Okay, and competition is a good thing. But here's the real competition. Be true to yourself first. Correct the stuff in your own life. Absolutely, while you're doing that, point out to people what you're doing. My life is not perfect, not by a long shot. Heck, it's not perfect by a short shot either. But absolutely point out where people are making miscalculations if you know them. Oftentimes, it's easier to identify when something is being done ineffectively in somebody else's home than it is in your own. Now, on that note, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, at some point. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.